It's time for Starwhite's biannual haul-out. This year we're going to be replacing the Cutless Bearing, refreshing the stuffing box, replacing the Boomkin Stays, and of course putting on a coat of bottom paint. First priority is the Cutless Bearing. Over the course of 40 years, Starwhite's Cutless Bearing has gotten quite worn. It's definitely time for a new one. When we repowered Starwhite a couple of years ago, we replaced the fixed 3-blade prop with a feathering max prop. The max prop anode is installed over the prop nut. After removing the anode, it's possible to loosen the prop nut and then install the prop puller.
Well, the prop puller is proving a little difficult to work with, but we've made a custom boatyard modification of a couple of hose clamps around the 3 legs, which hopefully will hold them in place so the puller can now exert its energy horizontally, I guess. Previously, these little legs were popping off. Let's see how it works. Well, just felt a slight click, which may indicate it's coming loose. We'll just keep tightening it here. These props, all of a sudden, they just go wham and let go without warning. And, so far, nothing happening. It's an optimistic click I heard. Oh. So, this is fighting, and it's winning at the moment. Try a little spray lube on it, let that soak in a bit, and we'll try giving it another twist in a little bit. Managed to get the prop eventually off of the shaft. Boy, it was a bugger. Well, for projects like this, Starwhite is equipped with a couple of removable panels in the side of the quarter berth here, which gives us really good access to the engine room. So, accessing the nuts on the bottom of the carriage bolts that hold the cockpit sole in place is a fairly straightforward procedure, since we've got great access from the quarter berth and from the door of the engine room here. Alright, well, we've got the cockpit sole removed. The black that you can see is gasket material that's attached to the bottom of the cockpit sole, and it seals on the flange. The bolts are carriage bolts. They don't twist when I go to tighten the nuts down from down below. We're going to remove the coupling, which is right back there. Once we've got the coupling off, then we'll be able to slide the shaft out and hopefully get the Cutless Bearing out and replaced. Well, it's now the next morning, and I've got the proper pulling device on the coupling here. I'm hopeful that a few turns will have the coupling off, and then we can pull the shaft out. Success! Got the coupling off inside. Should be a matter now of just pulling the shaft straight back and out of the Cutless Bearing. Well, it's so nice when something goes the way it's supposed to. This is the badly worn cutlass bearing, and I'm sure it's going to probably be a challenge to get that out of there. All we've got left to do now is remove these set screws on either side and then get this troublesome cutlass bearing out. That could prove to be more of a challenge. In a perfect world, or a perfect scenario, this cutlass bearing would have been left a little bit proud, so that in theory you could get some vice grips on it, twist it and pull it out. But this one has been cut off perfectly flush. So we're going to have to use a different method in order to get this one out. So, when in doubt, get a bigger tool. Well, there's been some success. We managed to get a section of the cutlass bearing out. And the balance is there we go. So basically what we did is took the Sawzall with a small blade, put it inside, cut several segments into the stern tube, bent it in enough that we were able to get a hold of things, but we did have to actually cut completely through one section in order to sort of collapse things and be able to pull it out. So we'll put the new one in now. Alright, new one is now in place. Notice we've left a lip, so if this ever has to be changed again, there's something someone can grab hold of. Now here's the old original cutlass bearing sitting on the workbench. This is the section that I managed to saw all the way through and then pry it up, or actually I pried it down and pulled it out. But you can see here I made several cuts into the bearing, which allowed me to then take a hammer and a chisel and bend the ends in, loosening things up so that I could slide it the rest of the way out. It's a fairly straightforward technique. It works just fine. Bud Taplin gets credit for suggesting this. It's definitely an easier way to get the cutlass bearing out, particularly if, like on our boat, this had been cut off perfectly flush with the end of the stern tube. There was no way to get a plier on the end of it to bite, hold, and pull it out. Obviously on the new one, we've now left it extending out about 1/2 inch, so whoever the next person is that does have to change that cutlass bearing, they'll be able to get a hold of it easily. If you can grab a hold of the end of your prop shaft and move it around within this bearing, that's a pretty good indication that you're due for a new cutlass.